Hi, welcome to everyone watching us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. This is our RecWired 2 p.m. live show. This week, we've got Ben Steele. Ben's from Sonovate, and will talk to us about how you can turbocharge your contract business. So over to you, Ben. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, afternoon, everyone, and it's great to be here this afternoon. Thanks, Andy, and the RecWired team for having me. And likewise, superb to be talking to you all about the business and how Sonovate will work. So yeah, by way of introduction, my name is Ben Steele, and I'm a business development executive here at Sonovate, and we're the UK's largest specialist recruitment invoice finance provider. So sort of about me and sort of who I am. I've spent the last 15 years delivering invoice finance solutions to corporate businesses, including recruitment agencies and consultancies, working with banks such as HSBC. More recently, I've moved over to the FinTech space, and I've recently joined Sonovate, principally to sort of focus on delivering tech-enabled funding solutions to the enterprise sort of sized agencies and consultancies. Revenues are around about 1 billion, which is a huge focus for me and the growth area for Sonovate and the business today.
So yeah, you're relatively new then into recruitment. So from a lot of the audience today is recruitment. That's what they do. That's what they've done. And
yeah,
what's your observation on recruitment companies?
Do you know what? I've thoroughly enjoyed working with such passionate people. Genuinely, people who just want to talk about their business, want to talk about the opportunities they're kind of seeing. And it's almost a breath of fresh air coming away from sort of being a generalist to now a specialist. So thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly, enjoy getting out to see people, meet new people, hear about their experiences, what they're trying to do, and the opportunities that they're seeing within the sector.
Recruitment owners love cash, don't they?
They do.
And they want it quickly. They don't want to wait for it. So
absolutely. And that's what I've seen throughout my career. Invoice finance, and a lot of people know that it's sort of bread and butter for invoice finance providers. We deliver this day in, day out. It provides a really good solution, provides cash, and that's exactly what businesses need.
So you're working for a big organization, big financial. What made you decide to join Sonovate?
I think from my perspective, leaving a big organization was quite challenging, quite difficult. But I think the opportunity that Sonovate have or are looking to deliver within this market space is huge. I think they've got a really good proposition, provides greater flexibility to customers, greater solutions. And I think, when you start to break down the boundaries of invoice finance and what it can do, sometimes it can be quite restrictive. But what I've thoroughly enjoyed about Sonovate is their agility to kind of say, right, what is your problem? What are you? What are you trying to solve? And how can we do that for you? And that's been, almost a breath of fresh air.
You've not quite been there long enough to say our and we. It's still there and them and them. Don't worry,
yeah, exactly.
You'll get it. You'll feel part of the family.
Yeah.
No, it's good because I think one of the interesting things, obviously, when we brought you into the group, speaking with Mark as well, having people come from outside the industry with just different views and different, how can we disrupt? And
yeah.
that's very interesting when you talk about the sort of, the products you're looking to bring in, how you're looking to do it. And just how different you can be from those traditional organizations. Almost you like the challenger bank, versus, the traditional banks you're up against.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And, we want to disrupt that market and become that leader, not only in the kind of what we call the first to finance sector, but also for those kind of SMEs and the larger enterprise businesses that are looking to finance as well.
Because I guess from memory, the origins of the company were that it was set up by Richard and Damon, who I used to work with long time ago, and effectively they built back office in a box, so small companies could do all their timesheets, didn't need to worry, could just go off and bill, and that still exists, yeah, that part of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So the business has now been trading 10 years, and it was set up by the co-founders and CEOs Damon Chappell and Richard Prime, who obviously you know from sort of S3. And I think they kind of set up the business. They saw the gap in the market to provide a kind of an all-in-one funding solution for new businesses and owners looking to set up funding for their first invoices, as well as providing kind of that middle and back office solution, all based around a tech product made to design it easy and sort of a fast solution to getting cash to help businesses do what they want to do, which is grow and scale. And if we fast forward to today, Sonovate's funded over £2 billion worth of invoices across 40 countries, and we supported over 3,000 recruitment agencies now. So that's huge for Sonovate. And I think one thing that's really impressive from my side is that actually Sonovate funds around 45% of new recruitment agencies which is set up and are looking to finance their first invoice. And that's more than the next 5 providers added together. So that's fantastic. So that's kind of how we start helping new agencies get funding. But what we've also been able to do is kind of evolve that now. So it's exciting to be able to expand that capabilities, the appetite, the service, technology, and the funding to support those agencies that are growing rapidly, and then delivering that solution out to larger agencies, which effectively is where we want to be. So we're now targeting the SME market and also in terms of that kind of enterprise sector that also need support and funding.
Yeah, I mean, that was my big surprise. So obviously speaking to Mark and looking at your roadmap where you're going to go, I've just had you pegged as, we help the guys, they start, get to a point, and then, this is probably where we cap out at.
Yep.
And it's almost right. Okay, so you've done that bit, you've worked that bit out, and then gone and looked at, right, okay, how do we disrupt enterprise? And it's really interesting where potentially you guys can go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like I say, the business is built on that kind of core 360-degree product, and for people who may not know, but that's kind of the all-inclusive funding, middle, back office, providing the technology around timesheets, contractor payments, invoicing, collections. Anything principally that's kind of included in that process, just to make it easy for recruiters to go and actually do what they do best. But now that's evolved as any business done. And now we have this kind of funding only solution, which is more bespoke around agencies who kind of just want a gross payment on their invoices, who would prefer just to take their accountancy package and plug straight into a product that can basically support and deliver. And there's no requirement there for the middle office or the back office. They just want funding and potentially maybe a collections process or whatever that may be. But that's really where it kind of sits more around the traditionals of invoice finance, where maybe the banks would provide their funding.
So you're aiming to be literally, okay, so if someone gets to a certain size, they've probably got their own back office, they've got their own timesheet system. Literally, you'll just plug into like a Xero, QuickBooks, whatever whatever system they're using, and effectively just do the funding.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's it. And all we really want to do is provide simplicity, flexibility to the service and what we're trying to achieve. And I think the great thing about Sonovate is if you look at Sonovate as a business away from the traditions of kind of your invoice finance providers, your banks, etc., then we have the capabilities of doing things like 100% prepayment advance against invoices, both domestically, internationally. We don't add sort of complex concentration limits or covenants around the types of facilities that potentially others do. We don't take personal security. It's simple single fees, all of those kind of things, which is then all wrapped around with this all-encompassing technology, which it makes it simple for customers to access funding.
As a recruiter, though, and having sold to recruitment companies, it's all about the number, though, isn't it? So, is it all about that bottom line, that percent, that you're going to take off, or are those other things about like not putting your house on the line just as important?
I think so. I think that's important to some people. Some people won't mind with certain aspects of those kind of parameters that maybe the banks would ask for. But the one thing that I've seen most is that if you're offering a solution which is different or solving a problem for a customer actually won't mind, let's say, paying a little bit more, or giving a little bit more in terms of the prepayment they may want. So it's all about finding that solution for the customer and actually giving something back to them that maybe they can't get elsewhere.
So typically, I mean, say for example, someone's watching this from our network and says, well, I'm with an existing provider, we're X million turnover, whatever. What's the engagement process? How do you guys go about, looking at what you can do for them?
Yeah, I think it's all about understanding what their need is and what challenge they're potentially having with a current provider. We're always open to speaking to new agencies, consultancies, but if there's no issues with their current providers, and it all works well, then that's great. But more often than not, we're seeing customers approach us, or we're speaking to customers to say, tell us about how your facility works. What restrictions are you having against your existing facility, and how can we try and resolve them? Like I say, it might be a restriction on international debt. It might be a restriction on the level of prepayment that they can obtain from their current provider, or it may be the level of debt they have to a single debtor in their debtor book. So, it's all about, from our perspective, how can we bridge that gap? How can we find a solution to actually releasing more funding back into that business, which is all what we're about, really. The more capital we can get into a business, the better that business can go and utilize that, whether that's to win new contracts, make acquisitions, do an MBO, anything like that. So it's all about finding the options and what the solutions are.
So literally anyone in our network, or indeed anyone watching this, if they need capital, they've got any funky requests, then you're always happy to at least have a look. Yeah,
absolutely, always, absolutely.
Good, glad to know. So you talk a lot about international. Now, the market is gangbusters, certainly in the UK, but a lot of the calls I'm getting now are, how do I set up an international contracts business, especially US. Germany's hot as well, but especially US. So what was exciting is I only found out last month that you guys fund into the US now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, that's a massive win for us. And I think we're one of only a few financiers that actually can do that and set up with the frameworks to allow customers to fund from the UK, their subsidiaries over in the US. And we also have that capabilities over in the Republic of Ireland as well. So, if you've got a trading business over in the US, or you're looking to set one up, then we can offer the advice around that, but we can also fund those contracts for you directly from the UK under the group facility we would have in the UK. We have all the legal framework set up, so the costs are reduced for the agencies. And what's more is that we do that by mirroring what we give you in the UK. So that might be the same level of prepayment you get for your UK contract, or your perm contract. So you're not necessarily penalised. It's kind of a holistic approach we take.
You obviously speak to lots of recruitment owners at the moment. What are you hearing? Yep. What's the word on the street?
Yeah, I think we were sort of just talking before. I think the sort of the latest data for vacancies is growing, which is great. But I think there's a shortage of candidates out there, which is a shame. I think there's definitely opportunity. The market is definitely bouncing back. I think the levels of vacancies is definitely surpassed what we saw pre-pandemic. So from our perspective, we're seeing new agencies set up, but we're also seeing agencies want to grow their business and take on more contractors, which mean obviously they need funding for that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's never easy in recruitment. You've either got too many jobs and not enough candidates, or too many candidates, not enough jobs. So one day there'll be a nice equilibrium.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think the other thing as well is it's a real good time to grow. And actually, typically, a lot of people will try and grow in the black, but now is the time to double down and really go for it. I think the cheap government money is no longer available, and certainly they're looking for it to be repaid, and there's a lot to repay. Yeah. So are you finding that firms are borrowing for growth and financing against their book for growth right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, some of the things that we've seen recently, and again, something that Sonovate does, which the market doesn't tend to do, it funds more on a more selective basis. So if you've got a specific contract or a specific debtor you're looking to fund, we can actually have the capability of doing that in isolation to the remainder of the contract book, let's say. So, we've seen recently customers come to us and say, I've got a great opportunity with this customer. We can put loads more contractors out, but we need to payroll that. We need the finance for that. The rest of my book, I can do that with my own sort of working capital organically. But actually, for this in particular, can you help me? And we're seeing that more and more, where we can actually isolate that as a single debtor facility, let's say, and just provide working capital to help businesses scale and grow those contracts where those opportunities are.
I guess as well, sometimes you used to. When I used to put contractors in, I think I'm not quite sure about this company. So credit risk is obviously a massive thing as well. No one wants that call. I had a few of them in my time. That call where it's like, yeah, my contractors just told me the company's gone into liquidation, and yeah. So talk to me about credit risk.
Yeah, credit risk. That's really important, and it's something that we are sort of have a huge focus on. So for us personally, all our facilities come with the wrapper of bad debt protection all included. And we know how important that is to customers, because that just protects you against your bad debts and obviously late payments as well. And having that functionality to go and credit check either a new agency or an existing agency to see what the limits are, can be invaluable, really. So that's really important to a lot of people. And what we're seeing now is that whereas, let's say, pre-pandemic, customers were looking at it and saying, actually, we don't really need bad debt protection. We understand the customers. We've not had any issues in the past. Customers are now looking to protect themselves because they know how damaging that can be to a business, even if you just lose one customer.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's just, we used to call them balance sheet killers. And it's just one of those things that you work for a year and it doesn't kill you, but it kills your year,
absolutely,
it kills what you achieved in the year, and it's soul destroying.
Yeah, and I've seen it before where even to the extent of one customer, I say, can bring a business down. And unfortunately, I've seen it before where a business can't continue to trade because of the bad debt they've suffered on a debtor or a customer.
Yeah, and you think how much work's gone into that business, how many people are,
Absolutely. These are, 40-year trading businesses. You get hit once, and unfortunately it builds up over a period of time because you promised that payment, you promised, and then it unfortunately never materializes, and it brings it down. But that's where the bad debt protection can sit and actually give you that protection and that level of comfort.
So where's the company going then? What's exciting that you can tell us about? Not that invoice financing isn't really exciting, Ben. We're doing but obviously, you see yourself not as a bank, you see yourself not as a fund, you see yourself as a fintech. So what are some of the other things that Sonovate customers can expect to see coming up?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, Sonovate continues to build out the business, with a focus on partnerships, both funding and technical. It's going to be API led technology. It's going to be global funding capabilities. In my team specifically, we've got a strong uptake on acquisitions and growth to sell businesses. We expect MBOs to exist, and we're expecting some continued investment into businesses as well. So, we want to be part of that. And this also coincides with becoming more flexible and creative around our own technology and what we can do to help customers make funding easier to ascertain through the use of technology.
So if anyone's looking to sell their business or buy their business through an MBO, they should come and talk to you about that.
Absolutely. If you've got an event-driven transaction of any means, then we're certainly in a good place to start sort of having a conversation.
Wow, didn't know that. So every day is a school day.
Yeah.
So we can take questions if any of the viewers watching want to ask any questions. We're happy to take them as we go. But yeah, I think from my perspective, I've been really impressed with what I've seen with you guys. I did have you pegged for sort of small business, the back office, and then just really understanding what it is you can do. And typically, who do you talk to? Who's your sales channel when you are, when you're going into agencies? Is it the owners? Is it the FDs? Is it, the operations people? I mean, who should be, who at the company is responsible for this? Who should be talking to you?
Yeah, I mean, the FD, CFO. So, anyone directly involved in that kind of area, whether you've got a facility or not, anyone looking at the working capital of a business should, theoretically be having conversations if they're looking to grow or looking for some sort of acquisition or some sort of finance to support their business. Now, from our perspective, we want to have conversations with people who aren't funded and who are funded elsewhere, because what we know is that not often enough do people do a working capital review of their own business, and where they think they have a good proposition, a good structured facility. Actually, if we have a conversation, we can soon start to unravel actually and see what benefit someone like Sonovate can bring to the business, whether that's through another level of service or whether that's through an advance in prepayment. It doesn't always have to be around cash flow. It can be around some sort of element that you may need in terms of back office. So yeah, it's always good to have these conversations, whether that's now or for the future. It's just really kind of beneficial to the businesses that I speak to anyway.
Yeah, so look, you go in effectively, look at what they're doing, suggest how they could do it differently, and if that happens to work out for you, then yeah, great.
Absolutely, yeah, no, I totally agree.
Any funny stories about anything that in a previous life you've not been able to fund?
I think there's always kind of restrictions around certain sectors, especially within the banks and the reputational damage it can provide. So yeah, there's been a few sort of what I'd call red tape industries that we've been asked to finance. Adult toys being one of them, which we had to decline. But yeah, I think that was kind of the weird and wackiest one that kind of came across my desk.
So recruitment isn't the weirdest and wackiest industry. that's generally...
Depends where you're putting your placements, I suppose. But no,
yeah. Can imagine. Right, well, we'll wind it up. I think, I've really enjoyed talking to you. I've really enjoyed actually the interactions we had when you guys were coming on board. Obviously, it's good to have a beer with you at the RecWired Drinks in London last month. So, looking forward to you helping our members. And it's not always about the bottom line, but I think it's really having that opportunity to grow and push the boundaries probably quicker, because the time is now, really to start, really going turbocharged. You won't see a market like it again, I don't think. So, now's really the time to really push on and grow. So if you can help our members do that, very grateful.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed it. So thanks, Andy.
All right. Catch up soon. Cheers, Ben.
All the best.